All right, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges out there: how to actually learn a language by yourself. We're going to lay out a clear 3-stage study plan that'll take you from feeling totally lost to being well on your way to fluency. Does this sound familiar? I bet it does. It's that classic feeling of staring up at a huge mountain. You know you want to get to the top, you want to be fluent, but you have no idea which path to take. Well, don't worry. This is the explainer that's going to give you the map. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll tackle what I call the fluency dilemma. Then we'll get into the 4 essential pillars that you need to build. After that, we've got specific, actionable plans for beginners, intermediates, and advanced learners. And we'll wrap up with your clear next step. Okay, let's kick things off with the single biggest mistake that almost everyone makes. You know, the common advice is to start practicing all 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, speaking, from the very first day. But here's the thing. For a beginner, that is actually terrible advice. I mean, just think about it for a second. Let's say you're learning Japanese, and on day 2, you try to listen to a news broadcast. What's going to happen? It's just a wall of sound, right? It's frustrating, it's discouraging, it's basically a torture session. And that's because you can't practice a skill if you don't have the prerequisites for it. You have to build the foundation first. And this is the core idea, the big shift in thinking. Instead of jumping into the 4 skills, we need to focus on building 4 foundational pillars. And those are vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and a very specific kind of speaking. These are the building blocks that make everything else even possible. So let's get practical. What does building these 4 pillars actually look like? We're going to start right at the beginning with the plan for absolute beginners. All right, so if you're a beginner, maybe at that A1 or A2 level, listen up. This is your mission. I want you to forget about mastering skills for now. Your one and only job is to build those 4 pillars. That's it. It's all about laying that solid groundwork. Pillar number 1, vocabulary. And your first goal is this magic number of 2,000. Now, why 2,000? Well, it turns out that the 2,000 most common words in pretty much any language make up about 80% of everything you'll read or hear in a normal conversation. That is a massive return on your investment. It's the smartest way to start. So, how do you actually learn them? You have to be intentional about it. Go find a frequency list online, they're easy to find. Use flashcards for sure, because that lets you use powerful tools like spaced repetition. But here's the crucial part. Make your own flashcard. Don't download a pre-made deck. The act of creating the card and writing your own example sentence is what really burns it into your memory. Okay, on to pillar number 2, grammar. And there's just no way around this one. You have to sit down and study it. But, and this is a big but, you can't study it passively like you probably did in high school. That just doesn't work for language acquisition. We have to make it an active process. And here's how you do it. It's a simple 3-step process. 1, when you learn a new grammar rule, explain it back to yourself in your own words. Don't just copy the textbook. 2, immediately make up your own simple sentences using that rule. And 3, when you review, don't just reread your notes. That's useless. Actively try to make new sentences. That's how you go from just recognizing a rule to actually knowing it. Pillar number 3, pronunciation. And you have to think of this as a physical skill, kind of like learning to play a sport. Your mouth has muscle memory for your native language. Now you have to physically train your tongue and your lips to make new shapes and new sounds. The absolute best place to start? Find the sounds in your new language that don't exist in English and focus on mastering those first. And that brings us to pillar number 4, speaking. And you might be thinking, wait, isn't that a skill? Well, yes, but at this stage, we treat it like foundational practice. From the very first day, you should be speaking out loud, even if it's just to yourself. You learn a new phrase, say it to your cat, say it to your plant, it doesn't matter. The point is to get your mouth moving and build that confidence in a totally zero-stakes environment. So let's fast forward. You've done the work. You've built your vocabulary to 2,000 words. You understand the core grammar, you can make the sounds, and you're comfortable speaking out loud. You have the foundation. Awesome. Now, everything changes. The game is completely different, and your new top priority is listening. Tons and tons of listening. All right, let's talk to the intermediate learners now, the B1 and B2 folks. You're still going to work on those pillars, of course, but your focus is about to make a major shift. Take a look at this. You can see right away that listening practice and real conversation now make up a giant chunk of your time. This is where you move from just building the engine of the car to actually getting in and learning how to drive it on the highway. You've earned the right to start using the language for real. So what does tons of listening really mean? It means you're listening every day. But here's the key. It has to be active listening. Just having a podcast playing in the background while you do something else, that doesn't really count. You have to be paying attention. And you absolutely need variety. You need to hear different people, old and young, with different accents, talking about everything from crime shows to science to silly celebrity gossip. That's how you train your brain for the real world. And finally, we get to the advanced plan. For those of you at the C1 level, at this point, you're good. You can understand pretty much everything. You can hold complex conversations. The challenge isn't about building anymore. It's about polishing. It's about achieving true mastery. And that takes a much more surgical approach. This table lays it out perfectly. At the advanced stage, your progress gets stalled by very specific things. The number one thing holding you back is usually vocabulary, those less common, more nuanced words. You also have to become a detective and hunt down your own blind spots. You know, those little grammar mistakes you keep making. And if there are any lingering fears about speaking, now's the time to face them head on. So what exactly is this rare vocabulary? These are the words that you're just not going to pick up from casual immersion anymore. They might only show up once or twice in an entire novel, but they're the words that separate someone who is fluent from someone who is truly masterful. At this point, just listening and reading isn't efficient anymore. You have to go back to intentionally learning these words with things like flashcards to keep making progress. So there you have it, a complete roadmap from A1 to C1. The big takeaway is this: fluency isn't some kind of magic. It's the natural result of following a smart plan and, crucially, changing your methods as your level changes. You build the foundation, then you immerse and use the language, and finally, you refine and perfect it. And that brings us right here to you. I want you to honestly ask yourself, which stage am I in right now? Are you a beginner who needs to start building those pillars? Are you an intermediate who needs to seriously ramp up your daily listening? Or are you an advanced learner who needs to start hunting for those rare words? Figure out where you are and then decide on the one single thing you are going to do next. That's how you make real progress starting today.